Why won't the left just make a choice? Do they love the FBI or do they hate them? Hello everyone, I'm Ferlin Webster Jr. with MRC-TV. I've noticed something recently. The left seems to love the FBI when they feel the FBI aligns with their agenda, whatever the agenda is for that day, and they hate the FBI when the FBI does their job and doesn't align with the left's agenda. So we came up with a few examples showing the media and the left, though some might say they're one and the same, being hypocritical of the FBI. We'll start with Hillary Clinton. Remember her email scandal? Of course you do.
This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Brett Baer in Washington. A presidential campaign for the ages has taken an even more bizarre turn than anyone could have ever predicted. The FBI now says it will review emails that appear to be pertinent to its investigation into the Hillary Clinton email scandal. This comes just 11 days before Election Day.
The whole investigation was to find out how she mishandled the securing of classified emails on her personal computer.
I'm here to give you an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton's use of a personal email system during her time as Secretary of State.
Because of this, Clinton believed James Comey cost her the presidential election. She felt the timing of the FBI's investigation negatively impacted her chances of winning.
But I was on the way to winning until the combination of Jim Comey's letter on October 28th and Russian WikiLeaks raised doubts in the minds of people who were inclined to vote for me but got scared off.
So instead of blaming herself for not being the best candidate, she found a way to pass the blame to someone else. And who better for liberals to place the blame on than the former FBI director?
She has a legitimate beef because Comey's letter was instrumental, I think, in her defeat.
He left the American public in a state of confusion.
It was a wrong thing to do. I have had great admiration for Director Comey. I think that he just couldn't take the heat.
All I can tell you is the FBI director has no credibility.
But later the left's attitude toward Comey shifted positively after he turned the FBI's attention toward Trump and began the investigation into the possible Trump-Russia collusion.
The FBI, as part of our counterintelligence mission, is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts.
Not long after that, Trump fires Comey. Comey then writes a tell-all book, and the left praises him for it. Because if you're against Trump, then you're with them.
Trump fired James Comey, the man who happened to be leading the investigation into whether Trump's campaign had colluded with Russia to win last year's election.
He fired the director of the FBI while the director was investigating his people, the possible collusion with Russia. This is unbelievable. This is the kind of thing dictators do. This is the kind of thing reality TV hosts do. They fire someone every week.
I mean, it almost feels like a scene out of The Godfather.
By now, you have no doubt heard former FBI Director James Comey detailing his rise and his time as the nation's top law enforcement official and sounding the alarm about the future of America under President Trump.
You've written this book, incredibly popular book, A Higher Loyalty. And so many people have read it, and you've talked about it so much.
To the truth. Yes, to the truth.
They don't always give a standing ovation, though, when a guest comes on, and they did that with you.
The admiration of the left grew even further for the FBI when Robert Mueller indicted 4 former Trump campaign
Paul
advisors.
Manafort, 68 of Alexandria, Virginia, and Richard Gates, 45 of Richmond, Virginia, have been indicted by a federal grand jury.
This is it. These are the indictments against Paul Manafort and Richard Gates.
But you did see a development in the case with more indictments against the former Trump campaign chair, Paul Manafort, this week. How significant?
The Trump campaign chairman was hit with a 12-count felony indictment.
Former Trump campaign aide Rick Gates has just pleaded guilty to 2 criminal charges in Robert Mueller's wide-ranging investigation into Russia's election meddling.
When all of this broke this morning, I think a lot of people in the media and the political world were a little surprised by the name George Papadopoulos and how prominent he suddenly is in all of this.
News on the Mueller front tonight. George Papadopoulos, the first Trump campaign advisor to be arrested in the investigation, is now heading to jail.
NBC News has learned that special counsel Robert Mueller has enough evidence to bring charges in his investigation of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
Robert Mueller has charged
former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
Now, none of those indictments had anything to do with the possible Russia collusion, but liberals were really happy about it nonetheless. Most recently, we've experienced this love-hate relationship during the Justice Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings and the allegations from Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. The left didn't want to go forward in the process of confirming Kavanaugh because they wanted an FBI investigation in order to keep him off the Supreme Court.
The best way to make sure that the process is fair and gets to the truth in a respectful manner is an FBI background check investigation.
This situation merited an FBI investigation.
What is wrong with a couple more weeks, if it takes that long, and it may not even take that long, to get the facts out?
It is my hope and expectation that a report from the FBI will be delivered to the Judiciary Committee members.
If he doesn't believe those statements, simple. Have the FBI go interview those who submitted the statements.
There has not been a fair process in place from the beginning on this.
It's hard to not at least say, open up the FBI investigation, because contrary to this he said, she said, this is really he said, they said.
These are serious allegations, and we have been calling for an FBI investigation for what seems like months.
They got what they wanted, but when they got what they wanted, they hated it. They called it a sham. Some even dared to call it BS, and trust me, I cleaned that up for you.
The FBI finished its investigation into the claims against Kavanaugh, and the bad news is the White House loves it.
It wasn't the Senate Judiciary Committee that shaped the FBI investigation, it was the FBI. The president said they had free rein, but his spokesman says the White House limited its scope, but also deferred to the senator's request. It doesn't exactly clear it up.
Of an incomplete investigation.
The whole thing is a sham. 5 days to do the investigation.
It's very frustrating that they didn't do a thorough investigation.
Protesters marching in Washington from the Supreme Court to Capitol Hill, hundreds of arrests tonight. Republican leaders saying they are satisfied with the FBI report into Kavanaugh, and Democrats tonight calling it a sham.
We had many fears that this was a very limited process that would constrain the FBI from getting all the facts.
If that's an investigation, it's a bullshit investigation. The reality is that is not a full and thorough investigation.
So that's how that works. Ungrateful. This leads me and probably a lot of other people to wonder, what in the world are liberals going to do when their possible Russia collusion investigation is over? What if the FBI doesn't find collusion between Trump and the Russians? Will they complain that the FBI didn't have enough time? That they didn't do a good job? Will the FBI be bashed and criticized by the same folks who praised them at other times? If I were a betting man, I would tend to believe that the left would dislike the outcome of the Mueller investigation because the one thing the left is consistent about is their inconsistencies. If you like this video, thank you. Now click that like button. If you don't like this video, I think the FBI should investigate you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us closely on Twitter. I've enjoyed talking with you all again, and until next time, folks, I'm Ferlin Webster Jr. with MRC-TV.